Hello, I'm Emma of Granola Gear, and I'm so excited you've decided to join me to chat a little bit about what I've been working on. Sorry, my hair looks a little crazy today. It's been a little crazy. I'm filming this a little earlier than I normally would because on the day that I normally would, I will have a plumber in my house. Again, tearing apart my bathroom for a leak. So, the perks of living in a 90-year-old apartment building. What a joy. But that has nothing to do with knitting. So let's get to that. I actually have a lot to talk to you about today, even though it's only been 2 weeks, because I finally got into like a finishing things mood, finishing like some old projects. I didn't get through all of them, but I made some progress on some things I've been putting off, which is cool. And I have a lot of acquisitions. I don't usually have a lot of acquisitions, but a really good thrift trip for yarn where I happen to find yarn because I definitely look for yarn all the time but don't always find it, and a purchase coincided in the same time frame. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. But that's what's up this week. So I will start with my finished objects. Actually, I'll start with what I'm wearing. I almost forgot. Um, this is the Cumulus O-neck knit in a unraveled sweater yarn that is 100% merino. And actually, funnily enough, so when I was knitting this, I got to the bottom and I was like, I could swear I had more yarn, but I was like out, like I was fully like lost yarn chicken. I had enough to do exactly to where it is. I used every little bit of yarn and it was a good length. It was a perfect length, so I just accepted it. But the other day, I organized my yarn stash. I hadn't gone through it and like just made it all nice again in a while. I kind of have it shoved on bookshelves. When I get new stuff, it kind of just gets shoved on there. But I found two little cakes. This is one of them. So I don't necessarily think this needs to be made longer. I think it is the perfect length for me, but I can put the I-cord on the edge now on the bottom. It's not a big deal without it. It's fine, but it does roll a little bit and it doesn't bother me enough that if I didn't have the yarn, I would never wear it or it would freak me out. But it'll be nice to be able to do that, so I'm excited about that. I might not get to it for a little while though, because I've got a lot going on. So, first finished object, and that is one that I've not showed for a little while because I was kind of putting it off, and it is the zipper sweater by Petite Knit for my dad. This is knit in Drops Nepal, so I won't have, for two of these items, I won't have a try on video because they're not for me. This is not blocked yet. This has been sitting around for a long time because I freaking hate adding the zipper to these things. It's also got junk all over it because it's been sitting in my unfinished basket for a long time. But this knit in Drops Nepal in the navy, so that's a wool alpaca blend, so it's a little softer than 100% wool, but still nice. This zipper definitely needs to be blocked to look a little flatter. I just got a basic one from the store because I was not going to order a single zipper from Denmark directly from Petite Knit for the nice one that she has. And the options on Amazon or online for a nicer looking zipper aren't great, or they're expensive, or you have to buy a ton of them. So in the end, I just caved and bought a regular basic zipper at my local yarn store because sometimes that's life. And you know what? It looks fine. Blends right in. Could be nicer, but is what it is. So yeah, this turned out nice. I had left it without the zipper facing or the zipper for a long time, and finally just got to it because I hate sewing in the zipper so much. It's like it's just so not fun to. I'm trying to like fold the collar, but it's not working. It's just so not fun to sew in a zipper to something like this. It's just a bad time, especially in a dark yarn. It's like impossible to see. So next finished object is this cami number 4 for my friend, which is in Drops Saffron in red clay. Really like how this turned out. It may be a little cropped, but I also need to block this. So we'll see how it looks when it's blocked. But I tried it on myself and I think it'll be fine. And if it isn't, I'm okay with her shipping it back one time. She lives in Los Angeles. Shipping it back one time for me to fix. So I ended up just kind of winging it with the strap length. I didn't go super long because they'll definitely stretch, but I think it's fine. She'll be fine. It's okay. But yeah, so not that crazy for this. I pretty much was already at the length it needed to be in the last video. I just like made that decision, and I bound it off and then finished the straps. So that's cool. That's off my list. And then the next thing is blocked, and that's the Anais tee by Gregoria Fibers that I'm test knitting. This turned out really cute. I really like it. It's very pretty. I knitted it entirely to pattern for the test knit, but I may make some edits afterwards. We'll see. I have to decide. I'm not really sure. Because I knit this, by the way, in Rosa Pomar Mungo, which is half wool, half cotton. Really nice to knit with, but might not be the best summer yarn. So I don't know. She had the ribbing knit with like much smaller needles. I think the piece was knit on 5 millimeters. The ribbing was knit on 3 millimeters, which for a really loose, like all plant fiber, makes sense. You're trying to tighten it. But for my half wool, it was a little tight. So I may change that. I'm not sure. I don't know. I may not do anything to it at all. I may not get to it. It's just a thought that I had. I thought the neckline was kind of interesting. I mean, it makes sense for a summer knit, but I hadn't really seen this before. It's basically like 3 rows of ribbing. It's like hardly any at all. No, it's like one row and then double knitting and then Italian bound off. So it's really small, which is fine for summer knit. The cable's really cute down the center. I like it. It's very nice. The shoulder detail is nice. The set-in sleeves that we've been seeing a lot more lately, with like blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And now I think Petite Knit is putting out the Sevilla blouse or something like that. That's the same type of like shoulder sleeve construction. So that's interesting. But yeah, those are my finished objects. I actually also finally broke down, because I was in my finishing things mood, and ordered Paintbox Cotton DK to finish my Elizabeth blouse. So I'm really excited. That should be finished hopefully in the next podcast, or at least picked back up to finish, because I just have to finish the body. So that's exciting. I really love that piece, so I'm excited about that one the most. I only have 2 whips right now because they're both 3 millimeters. So I worked on one of them for a while, and then I just had gotten my Knitting for Olive order, and that's what I was waiting for, and I cast this on right away. I'm so excited! This is the twist loop top by Other Loops, and I forgot to mention in the last podcast that this pattern was very kindly gifted to me by a viewer, which I appreciate like on a level I can't even explain, and it means so much to me. And it was worked out perfectly because I obviously had plans to cast this on as soon as I got this yarn, so I was super psyched to be able to do that right away. If you'd like to support me in that way, it means the world to me. I have my Ravelry in the description, but obviously I don't expect that of anyone. It's just a wonderful, kind thing that people do sometimes. So thank you so much. But so this is a twist loop top by Other Loops, and it's in Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in Japanese anemone. I was also looking at the blueberry ice cream color. But that one was sold out. I may have picked that one if it hadn't been sold out, but it was sold out, so I went with this one. And I think this is a really nice color for me. It's kind of like a cool pink. It's very pretty. I like it so much. This top looks so tiny because the ribbing is all squished together, but I think it's going to be so pretty. It's definitely really like thin and light because this is such a light yarn, but the merino gives it like just enough oomph, I think, to make the rib kind of fluffy like this design is supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be kind of chunky and yummy. Yeah, I've been enjoying this and so excited about the color and the yarn. I had never ordered Knitting for Olive because when it comes to like the merino and the mohair, I know this isn't entirely true, but it's all kind of the same. It's not the same. Different types of fibers, different quality, different colors, different sizes. I know all that. But I can buy a merino in a different color for a much, much cheaper price than Knitting for Olive. So for me, and where I'm at right now, just not worth it. It's cool, it's fun, it's like a novelty, but like it's not like it's easy for me to get necessarily. Like I can order it from their website, but I'm paying in another currency and all that and shipping internationally, blah blah blah. So it was kind of like for those yarns it wasn't worth it for me. For the summer yarns it made a little bit more sense because this cotton merino I was interested in because it's 70% cotton, 30% merino. So this felt really wearable for summer, which I do believe it is and is going to be. Um, but it has a little bit more of the merino quality for knitting that makes it a more pleasant experience. And I think makes the overall piece look a little better. Like it's a little fluffier, it's a little softer, but it kind of doesn't have a merino or a cotton feel. Like I feel like cottons can be either way too shiny and they're difficult to deal with, or way too grippy and frictiony, and so they're hard to knit with in that way. This is, I guess, neither. The merino gives it the glide on your needles so that it's not getting stuck and causing wrist pain for me. And it's not so shiny and slippery because of the merino that it slides right off of things or is hard to weave in ends or anything like that. I think it's a really nice blend. It may I'm not sure. It may be a little see-through. I'm not sure. I think the texture is probably going to hide it. I'll wear a tan bra underneath it, so I think it'll be fine. But yeah, I like this. And as far as like cost to buying a quantity for a summer top, like I only need this is my second skein for this piece. I'm knitting this size small. Like two or three skeins is obviously much more cost efficient than buying like 12 for a sweater. Um, so yeah, that's why I decided to make this this purchase and try this out for summer things, because I think for me their cotton merino is a little more unique than just like a merino. So that's my reasoning. But the what am I saying about the pattern itself? I think it's kind of funny. So we have the ribbing for the neck, which is fine. It's folded rib, but then on the edges, it's. I was looking at the pictures of the pattern, and I guess you can kind of tell it's I-cord, but I think it's kind of funny when you add I-cord on the edge of like, this is the stockinette of the ribbing. It kind of just makes it look like a wide stockinette border. Like this looks like it could be double knit, like the way the champagne cardigan button band is, like that kind of double knit, which is kind of funny. I mean, it looks good. I like it like that. It's just, I don't know. But the I-cord on the edges with the really small needles definitely kind of killed me. The pattern says 1.5, but the only 1.5 millimeter needle that I have, or US 1.5, I don't remember, one of those, is a 9-inch circular. So I use my US ones. Yeah, they're US ones. So yeah, turned out pretty good. I'm on the last cable repeat. So I've cranked this out pretty quickly because honestly, I'm really excited about casting on other things too. So that's kind of been my motivation for this. And yeah, I don't have a whole lot to go, and I'm very excited about this. Going on a small vacation, like long weekend with my family in a couple days, and I'm hoping to either finish this before then or finish it while we're there. So we will see. I honestly need another set of 3 millimeter tips because I've been using just these for like everything. And I don't like overbuy needles, but definitely like I have 2 sets of 4 millimeter tips because I just had too many 4 millimeter projects going on at the same time in the winter time. And it's not like I had 10 projects going on. It's like I had 3, which is my normal. I try and keep about 3 active whips. And 3 was pretty normal for me, and 2 of them would be 4 millimeter. So I'd have to like switch needles back and forth. And it was annoying, and it kept me from working on things as much as I wanted. And I like to be able to rotate just if I get bored or something's hurting my hands, just to switch it up. So I'm kind of feeling the same way about this. Like everything's on 3 millimeter needles, and I only have this one set. So I end up just working on one thing. So yeah. The other whip I have worked on more since the last one, but not a ton because I did get that yarn in and I started working on that. And that is the Friday Tee by Petite Knit, which has got all sorts of crap stuck to it because it's in this bag. It's also not on needles. Like I said, only one set of 3 millimeters, so it's kind of hanging out on here. But I love the colors so much still. Like I was gushing last time and I'm still gushing. I'm still obsessed with this colorway. I think the blue makes the peachy pink color so much better too. Like, I don't know. It like makes it look, I don't know, more orangey, cools it down a little bit, warms up the blue. I don't know. One of those many, many things that I just said. I like it. I'm really excited about this. And I'm really excited to get back to working on it once I've made some other things. So I do definitely, this is not going to get like trapped in like partially finished whip land. I'm definitely going to finish it. I do usually try and finish when I cast on something new. I usually try and finish like the yolk before I move on to working on something else as well, just so that I have like, I don't know, once you get past the yolk, for me it's all like I enjoy the yolk, but then it's like, oh, it's going to get finished. Like once I finish the yolk, I've like fully committed to the pattern, and the rest of it will just come eventually. Because especially when it's like stockinette or something like that, it's, you're like, oh, I just got to crank on it for a couple days and it'll be done. But those are my only two works in progress, which is crazy. So I will move on to acquisitions, and I have my bag and I'm so excited. And it's so funny. This is random, but I was in the laundry. I have a shared laundry room in my building, and I went in there to get my laundry last week, and someone had like a little laundry cart, and it was at the dryers, and I was getting my stuff from the dryers. So I just happened to look because it was empty, and in the bottom of their cart was a wool warehouse bag. So I'm telling you, there's another knitter in my building, and that's just really exciting to me, and I'd love to know who they are so I can say hello, but maybe I'll find out eventually. So first I had, you've already seen this, I just showed this to you, but this is the Knitting Brawl of Cotton Merino, but my one last untouched ball in Japanese Nanami, which is an unbelievably pretty color. Like I said, I would definitely try the blueberry ice cream. That also looks really pretty. It's funny because I had looked at their Cotton Merino. I guess it was a little bit too early in the season because they only had a few colors up, and then they put out all sorts of colors for summer eventually. It was just kind of, I'm glad that I ended up waiting to purchase the other yarns that I wanted, because this is obviously much more exciting to me than like brown. As great as brown and white and like gray are, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not someone who's gonna be ordering a fancy yarn just to try the color putty in white. That's boring. No offense. I get it. I get it. I have so many white t-shirts. But for that reason, I'm gonna knit myself colored t-shirts because I can go buy a white t-shirt. The other two yarns I have from Knitting for Olive are both the pure silk. I got 3 skeins in Ballerina, which is so pretty. I was hesitant about getting 2 pinks. I almost ordered the Dusty Artichoke, but I was like, you know what? Everyone has Dusty Artichoke. I see Dusty Artichoke all the time. I don't need it. And honestly, I don't think it would look as good on me as the pink will. This is maybe a little peachy, but I think it's a true pink. I think once it's knit up, it'll look nice. And this is going to go into another pattern that was very kindly gifted to me by a viewer, which I'm so very thankful for and so very excited about, and that is the Barbaro top, which is a Knitting for Olive pattern. They also have the Barbaro blouse, which is so beautiful, and if I can tolerate the like lace knitting pattern for the entire top, maybe I'll knit the Barbaro blouse later on in time. Maybe it'll be with one of these yarns. I don't know. We will see. But this is beautiful, and that's what this is going for. So I have 3 of this, and then the other pure silk that I got is going to a Cumulus v-neck tee, which is what I've been wanting to knit with pure silk for a very long time, because I think for me, like throwing on a t-shirt like that is just makes the most sense. It's the most wearable for me, and pure silk makes the most sense for that. And I got the Dove Blue. I think I thought this was going to be a little lighter, but honestly, that's on me because I know I looked up the Ravelry colors, like what was in people's stash and projects, to see pictures in different lighting a while ago. And I think I did determine that this was a little dark, but I just accepted it. There is another color, the Poppy Blue, that I really like how it looks on the screen, but I think in real life it's way too vibrant for me. Like maybe it's a little bit warm for me. Like if it was a little bit of a cooler blue, I would like it better, but it's like I think it's a little warm and it makes it a little too vibrant for me and what would look good on me. So that's me. That's where I'm at with that. So Dove Blue. I have 4 of these. So exciting. So exciting. I also feel like a crazy person knitting all really small stuff. but small stuff is what's going to get worn in the summertime if you are going to wear your summer knits at all. So, is what it is. The next thing was a bit of an impulsive purchase because I went to a local yarn store that actually is like right next to where I went to college. And for some reason, I had no idea it was there the entire time I was there. I didn't get super back into knitting until like halfway through my time there, and I didn't really have the money to spend on yarn anyways. But I was excited because they kind of had more stuff that I was interested in than some of the other local yarn stores. Not like that they don't have good stuff. It's just everyone's looking for different things, and you know what I mean. So they had in their sale bucket some Tin Lena by Sunnis Garn, which this is actually the first of this brand that I've ever tried. So that's cool. I got 4 skeins of this Twilight. She said she was just putting them on sale and getting rid of them because no one was buying like the really thin like summer yarns, which is fair. I guess it's not the audience for her, which is totally understandable, but I got this. I don't have any specific plans for this. This may hang out in my stash until next year, I have a feeling. I think I've got enough, as you've heard, small gauge whips that will probably last me the rest of the summer. And honestly, I'm starting to itch for fall knits, so we'll see how long the trend lasts. But yeah, this is such a pretty like purpley blue. I don't even know. Like, I love this. It's such a good color. The other ones that she had were like some pinks, and I was like, I already have a lot of pinks, so we'll call it good. And that is all my new yarn. And then I have a couple thrifted things. The first is this Icelandia. I have 2 skeins of this. It is 100% wool, and the color is dark wood. Uh, Definitely very rustic. It is a 1-ply yarn. And like I've said, I have a handful of these kind of like bulky Aran weight 1-ply yarns that I think all will go into something at some point in the future. We will see. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, I pick up stuff like this when I see it, when I can. I think I paid like $3 for 2 of them. So it'll find a home. I'll find something to do with it someday. Next, I have 2, and I found cones at the thrift store before, but I've never bought them because they've always been acrylic blends, and I didn't really have any interest in that, just for my uses. So this first one is a cotton. It's unlabeled, plastic cone on the inside. It's like this lace weight, really fine cotton. I wasn't sure exactly what fiber it was in the thrift store, and I think it was $3 for this whole thing. So I was like, I'll just pick it up and I'll do a burn test at home. And it's definitely cotton. It's this cool variegated color. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do with it. Maybe I'll hold it double or triple or whatever at some point. Maybe I'll hold it with something else. I don't know, but obviously I've got plenty to do some different things with. So that is fun. Obviously, no idea what brand it is or anything. And the other thing was labeled, this is 100% wool. This yarn is actually, it has the whole tag on the inside. It's Jagger spun, or Jagger spun. I would assume that's Jagger, like kind of a Germanic name. Mainline 3/8. This is from, it actually has the label from where it was from, which is Halicon yarn, which is in Bath, Maine, which is so funny because I've thrifted stuff that has had tags from them on it a couple times, which is, I don't know why, but so this is cool. This company does a lot of cones, I believe. I was looking it up. I think this is a DK weight, and this is 1,400 yards, and it's in the color daffodil. So this I think I can get a full sweater out of. I haven't done any kind of swatch, but that's my thought. I'm not really a yellow person, but I have yellow things I wear. I'm just not going to go out of my way to buy yellow and spend a lot of money on it. But for $3, I will sure as heck wear a yellow sweater. Yeah, so I have some thoughts for this. Like, if it's really a DK when I knit it up, I think maybe an April cardigan would be nice. I already have that pattern, and I think it would be a good light piece for this. This did have kind of a little moth actiony on it. Looked like some eggs. So this went in a plastic bag and went in the freezer for a very long time. Also picked up some cedar blocks of wood to shove in my yarn stash, just to be sure. But it looked like it was some very old bug action. I do not think it was recent, but that was just to be safe. So yeah, this was a very cool acquisition that I'm very excited for this winter. Maybe if it ends up being too thin for something, I'll like pick up a crazy mohair of a maybe a different color to make it less yellow and do something with it. I don't know. We will see. That's the joy of thrifted yarn. And the last thing is not like a specific yarn. It is, let me get this the right direction here. A hand knit sweater in a hand dyed merino, it looks like. I occasionally find pieces like this and I always make sure to pick them up because honestly, the general public is probably not going to appreciate this. And I'd say there's a good chance it's going to go in a landfill if you don't pick it up when you see it because people don't appreciate things that don't have a tag that they recognize on them. And this guy does definitely not have a tag. This pattern looks really familiar. Sorry, it's got some fuzz on it. This pattern looks really familiar, but I do not know the name off the top of my head. If you know it, shoot me that in the comments because I'd love to know just so I can take a look. This is really pretty. The yarn is obviously really pretty. It's about my size, I'd say. Usually when I pick up something like this, I will do my best if it doesn't have like holes or stains because sometimes they do and that's why it got donated. But I usually give it my best shot to wear it myself for as long as I can. If it doesn't work out, I may unravel it. If that hurts your feelings, I'm sorry. That's life. I can't afford large quantities of hand dyed yarn, so this is how I get it. But yeah, so that's cool. This is very fun. It kind of looks like the sleeves are really small. I think that's sort of a trend for some people, but I'm definitely like a loose sleeve girly, not a bell sleeve girly. I don't like when things have really like wide ends, but I do like when they're kind of loose on my arm. So I haven't tried it on yet because I haven't washed it yet, but once I do, I will take a little video so I can put it in this video. But this was an acquisition. It was $5.50. So how do you like them apples? So that was cool. And that is all of my acquisitions. A lot more than normal considering I had like none in the last 2-ish videos. So that is all the knitting, I believe. With a side note of, I have been seeing, and I do really like, the Busan tee by Aegyo Knits. And if I had all the time in the world and some DK sport weight yarn to spare, I would absolutely knit one of those. So maybe next year, but that's just a side note. So I will move on to what I've been reading. I haven't read as many books, which I mean, I've still read a lot, but I haven't read as many books as I had recently because I kind of got stuck on one that I didn't like a ton, and that was The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is nothing against her books. I actually really, this is a second book, and I really, really liked the first one, but the second one wasn't my fave. So if you've read the first one, not the second one, maybe give it a shot, but I didn't love it. It felt sometimes I feel like what happens with a lot of these like romantasy type series is like their first book, they have a really cool different concept and like it's really interesting and blah blah blah. And then they basically resolve the conflict in whatever interesting setting that they're in. And then in the second book, it's like the same as every other book because they're no longer like they've resolved that. Like this was kind of like a they were in a competition for the first one and like all of this stuff and it's so interesting, but then the competition finished in the first book, so now they're just in like regular life in the second one, kind of like there's still like the battles and whatever, but like I don't know, the interest doesn't always keep up with the series. So for me it was a bit of a flop. I still finished it, but it took me a while because I wasn't super enjoying it, but I wanted to know what was going to happen. Yeah, so that kind of held me up with all my reading. The other book that I read right after this and so quickly because it was really good, once again, a Brandon Sanderson book, and that is Tress of the Emerald Sea. Such a good book, so clever. It's about this girl who's going on an adventure to save someone. I don't want to spoil. I don't even know what is a spoiler and what isn't sometimes, you know what I mean? Um, and she's like sailing with people, but there is not, I mean there's water on her world, but the ocean isn't water, it's like these spores. And if these spores, I know that kind of sounds icky, if they touch water, there are different types and they like blow up into different things. Like one of them like blows up into like all these crazy vines grow, or like crystals and all this really interesting stuff. So they're actually like dangerous. You're sailing basically like on danger. I don't know. His whole world building thing is wild. He does such an amazing job. It's a fantastic book. It's a standalone if you're looking for something like that. So if you just want to read one, I'd try that one. Really good. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend. But that's what I've been reading. And I just got my hands on the new Allie Hazelwood book to read from the library. So maybe I'll have something to say next time. But if you enjoyed this, I'd really appreciate a like or a subscribe. You can find me on Instagram or Ravelry. All that's in the description, as well as everything that I talked about today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great day and happy knitting.